I have been on a manhwa spree recently, and today I want to talk about Leviathan. And I want to talk about why I love it so much, and maybe give you guys a bit of an idea of what is happening in the story, and get your opinion and stuff like that, and hopefully maybe bring this manhwa out to you guys so that you guys can read it if you haven't read it. So let's dive into it because, man, this is one of the most addictive manhwas I have read. And what I mean by that is, I have read 75 chapters right now of it. And what I mean by it being so addictive is I physically have to force myself at night to stop reading. I do. I have to. Otherwise, I will spend all night reading it because it's so easy to read. It flows. It's interesting. The characters are great. The artwork is fantastic. And you're just sitting there and you're immersed within this story in this world that you constantly want to keep reading. So, to give you guys some background information of what Leviathan is, some people you will see say that this is like an Attack on Titan story, which I understand the parallels between this and Attack on Titan. Some say this is the Korean version of Attack on Titan, because it is very similar. And what I mean by that is, this story is about the world, which we know as Earth, that is submerged within water. So there is no land anymore. So people survive on boats and skyscrapers and stuff like that that are sticking out of the ocean. And with that, a new species is born called leviathans. And these are giant sea creatures. And not all of them are the same species. They're all very different and unique in their own ways. And with that, we get these people called harpoonists. And the harpoonists, their job and sole purpose is to kill and hunt these things. And we find out throughout the manhwa that there's a certain tattoo that you get that symbolizes certain things to where you are in the status of a harpoonist. So you can see the parallels there within Leviathan and Attack on Titan, because Attack on Titan, you have the rangers and the scouts and stuff like that that go out and hunt the titans, who are these giant creatures that are trying to get civilization. Very similar aspects. Now, in this story, you start off very much with a family. A dad who is raising his two kids, a son and a daughter, and he's basically showcasing what they need to do to survive in this scenario, because there's nowhere else to go. They're on this little boat, and they have to try and survive. And at night, these sea monsters come out. So they have to go into the boat and be as quiet as possible so they don't disturb it. Very similar to a bit of Attack on Titan as well. Now, when you get introduced to these characters, Bota, who is the son, comes off as this person who, yeah, I can do this by myself. Come on, let me do it. But what I really liked, especially about the start, is the lessons that the father is teaching the son, and how they come back to it as you progress through the manhwa. As you progress, you start to see that everything that the father was teaching him, and everything that Bota was trying to tell him, I can do this, I can do that, I'm old enough now, and him trying to tell him, look, you're not, you just need to, you're still a kid, you still got all this to grow up to, you got this, and that. It starts to pay dividends in the story as you progress, and the character of Bota starts to understand this, and now is very fortunate for having those fundamentals under his wing for when he is prepared later on to fight these monsters. So I really, really like that dynamic. And what I truly, truly liked about this is it's the characters themselves and the depth that they go to. Now, Bota and his sister, obviously there's a tragic event that happens, which was an absolutely insane fight. We also get more lore-based about these 7 devils of the seas, and what the significance of them is, and the significance of Bota's father, which comes back to pay dividends again. So they do a lot of drop the breadcrumbs and then pay it off later on, which is something I really appreciate. But regarding Bota and his sister, the dynamic is really, really great. He comes off as this big brother that wants to look after his little sister. Now that he's got that responsibility, he will do whatever he has to do in order to keep her alive. And when they go onto the big boat, they find out that there's a lot of corruption going on. There's a lot of stuff that happens on that boat that is jeopardizing them and their survival. So as Bota is learning this, we get also introduced to another character who is personally one of my favorite characters in the series so far, Kana. And Kana gets first introduced when the two kids are stuck on this island being attacked by one of the sea monsters. And she comes in, aura farming, absolutely insane, and just obliterates. So she is a harpoonist, and she basically adopts these kids. She adopts them, and this is where we get the backstory to her and the connection that she has with their father. And this is what I mean by paying the dividends from everything early on. Once you start to understand, it becomes this beautiful narrative and character arc that Kana goes on from seeing her as this badass harpoonist to a caregiver, to being essentially an older sister to them and nurturing them, training them, helping them grow, while also learning about the tragedy that was her life and why she sees this as so fitting and something that she feels like she needs to keep this promise. And I love that. I really, really do. And as you progress, once the corruption happens within this, ship, and they leave the ship and they go to this other port, and you get the time skip of the years, I think it's 3 or 4 years, and Bota is now, coming into adulthood, and the way that she handles it is very much the way that someone should. He's old enough now to let him go. He's become an adult. It's time to let go of the leash and let him live. But at the same time, she gives out great lessons to him, like she talks about, because Bota wants to be a harpoonist. He wants to kill these sea creatures. He wants to go after all of the leviathans as much as he can. But she makes the point of fame, fortune, and, being selfish in that way can come back to hurt you, and you can lose what is most precious to you. And I love that moment, especially when Kana says that to him, because it's so true. Even in today's world, and we can all relate to that, we chase this goal, this dream of what we want to do, but sometimes we don't look at the bigger picture and we sacrifice and lose things that aren't worth sacrificing and losing in order to chase this goal. And then when we get to that goal, we realize, oh, we lost all this along the way, and now you're not happy because you have nothing to share with. And I really, really like that. But it's the progression of Bota that is so interesting, especially when they leave the ship. And after learning about his father and who his father truly was, and leaving the corruption that was there, we get to this port. And the stuff that happens in the port is very interesting. And the dynamic at this port is very, very interesting and brings up this question of, sacrifice a few for the greater good. Is that the way to do it? Now, the chief here knows about a certain event that is happening underneath them. But with doing that, he is willing to sacrifice people in order for the greater good. That is his mindset. He's like, if I send a few divers down there to collect these things, feed them to one of the sea kings, he's not going to bother us, and we're going to leave peacefully. But when it all gets revealed, because Bota has to go down there with a group, when it all gets revealed, that's when the chief says that. But at the same time, you see that everyone else there is not happy about that. They've all lost loved ones. And I think it is particularly the person who lost their son who comes out and says, do you think I would have sacrificed my son to have a peaceful life? You really think that makes me happy? I've been living like hell ever since that moment. So it really brings up that whole question of, would you save this many people and sacrifice one person that you truly love? Would you do that? And I love how that, that dynamic with the chief going, look, if I sacrifice a few people, man, I keep you guys all safe. Where the other people are like, yeah, but I don't want to lose the people that I love. I would rather, deal with that big thing and not give up my son. So it's this great ideology clash that I really, really liked. But at the same time, reading it, I got very emotional, especially in this moment when Bota does come up and realize that he failed. He was not ready. Even though he was talking, I'm ready. I want to go prove myself. I want to be the best harpoonist. I want to go out there. I want to do it all. and he gets to that moment and he freezes and he realizes, I'm not ready for it. Kana comes out of retirement and is just a badass again. But reading it, the emotional part was watching the young sister get eaten. And I was not prepared for that. And this is what I mean. That's where I stopped at that moment. I'm at that moment now when that happens and they find out maybe she's still alive. I don't know. People who have read it know exactly where it's going. But to me, that moment, even though it was just on a page, I started to feel emotional. I started to get a little bit of a watery eye reading it because I was so attached to the characters that when an event like that happened, I was sitting there and I was like, no, 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 not the little sister, no. And I think that just showcases you just how powerful the writing and the characters are in this manhwa. So the action is great. Like, I love watching it, and the uniqueness of all of the different types of leviathans is fantastic because they don't all look different, but they all look devilishly nightmarish. I'm telling you now, these little freaking sea monsters, bro. I don't want to run into them in real life. I really don't. But they look absolutely insane. They really do. This is bloody. This is gory. Like, it doesn't shy away from that. You see everything. You see people getting ripped from limb to limb. You see them get eaten alive. You see it all. And I think it's such a good manhwa so far, and it's so addictive because it's so easy to read at the same time. While it's got so much depth, such great good characters, such a great good narrative, the action, the artwork, and everything, you can breeze through it so quickly, and you get so immersed in this story that you just continuously want to read it. And I just find it so good so far, and I'm only 75 chapters in, and I can't wait to continue it. But if you have read Leviathan, I want to hear what you guys think. Do you guys really enjoy this? Do you not? I think it's absolutely fantastic. And I understand the parallels with Attack on Titan, but except it's obviously in water where that Attack on Titan's not. But I absolutely love it right now. But I want to hear what you guys think if you have read it. And I hope if you guys haven't read it, maybe this video can help you guys read Leviathan and then really get, the enjoyment that I get out of this story. But let me know what you guys think. Smash it in the comment section below. Smash that like button. Click subscribe. And I'll see you guys next video. Until then, stay safe and peace out.